Hello and welcome to the Michael Mama Show, Ancient Secrets Revealed. I'm your host, Michael Mamas, and we're coming to you from Mount Soma, home of the Sri Someshwara Temple in the mountains of Western North Carolina. And today we're going to talk about something that I think is really exciting. Panditji, the Pundit at the temple, and his wife Lakshmi are going to India for 6 weeks. They're leaving in about a week. We'll have other, pundits here taking care of the temple while they're gone. And it was actually Lakshmi, Panditji's wife, and she was reading in the Shiva Puranas, and she came across this portion that was talking about this puja havan, that's Archana. It's called Ayutha, which means 10,000 Linga Archana. And one thing led to the next, and they decided that when they went to India, they were going to do it. It's about a 3-day ceremony, Archana. And so they started researching it, and they talked to some really, old, wise, highly respected pundits in South India. And they asked them about it. And they said that hasn't been performed for over 1,000 years, probably hasn't been performed in this whole Kali Yuga for the past 5,000 years and longer. So I asked Punty, I said, well, why, And he said, it's, first of all, it's very complicated to be done properly. And so they're having to do a lot of research and everything just to be sure that it's done appropriately, accurately. And, but not only is it, very complex, but it's also, it's a lot of work to do it. And so it kind of fell by the wayside. But, India is like that. India is so interesting because there's incredible stuff all over the place. Now, there's also the whole left-handed tantra and kind of, there's like in every country, in every area, there's charlatans, that are just basically doing magic tricks to try to get followings, And then there's the whole left-handed tantra thing where they go in and tweak people's chakras. But there is so much stuff that's going on that is real. It's kind of unfortunate that there's the left-handed tantra thing that, people like magic tricks and they get sucked in quickly. And what happens then is that starts to undermine even the credibility of the really pure knowledge that is there, all over the place, really, in India. You can go into a village and there can be pundits there. I have a friend that was there. This was, a long time ago. And I think it was in Benares. And there was a pundit there who was chanting a part of the Veda. He was the only person that knew that part of the Veda. And he was an old person. When he passed away, that's it. That knowledge of that portion of the Veda is gone for now, So many stories. But the best source for real pure Vedic knowledge is the fully trained, fully qualified South Indian pundits. Their knowledge is great, and the discernment is there, So at any rate, they decided they're going to perform this Archana while they're in South India, and what it is, I think it requires some clarification before we even go into the details of it, which we'll do in this podcast. But, you know, to help with the clarification, I put on this, I like YouTube, and there was this, I think, an old Gary Cooper Western. I think it was his name, Gary Cooper. And they had it was a Western, and they had a portion of it there where they had these American Indians, and it was almost it was a mockery, really. I mean, they didn't attend at the time, I don't think, but that really what it was, because the American Indians at one time had the knowledge, and there's still tremendous knowledge there. I have some friends that are Cherokee from this area, and they'll talk about their grandmother or their great grandmother and a lot of the knowledge they had. And I think I talked about gourds, and I've always felt there's a certain Shakti energy in gourds, and it was just, I asked them what they knew about it, and they know all about it, and everything that I felt, they were saying, yeah, that's right, but nevertheless, the way it was portrayed in that movie was just like hocus pocus, foolishness, and they were rattling things, and and then of course the white man was far more knowledgeable as portrayed in the movie, and it's a shame, because see, what happened was there's a lack of understanding and a lack of discernment, and it goes way back. And then it also goes to this left-handed tantra thing, which screwed the whole thing up. It happened to the American Indians too, even though it happened in India too. And so it all gets blurred together. And the technology, the understanding is so sophisticated, really, that it easily slips through the fingers of people who don't have a strong foundation in basic technology, if you will, and nature of existence. And so when you talk about these different technologies in the West, it often is just like, oh, that's just like those guys in that movie, rattling their beads, and it's all nonsense, which is such a shame. You see, there is such a thing as, engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering in the Vedic literature. It's all there. But it's much more, there are 5 elements, right? Earth, air, fire, water, like that. But in Western engineering, it's basically the fire element. And so the others are just kind of not even understood, or attention isn't paid to it. But in Vedic engineering, there's still that fire element, of course, and just basic mechanics, mechanical engineering, for example. But it's fully integrated with these deeper understandings. And so there's the basic structure, but there's also the more subtle nuances of it. And that, as you go to the different levels of existence, it reaches all the way down into the knowledge of mantras. And that's where the real technology, the profound technology, the powerful technology, the transformational technology comes from. And so when we start talking about Archana and this Ayutha, Linga, Archana that they're going to perform, we're talking about a very profound and highly sophisticated technology that is really the knowledge and understanding of it in classical physics, even modern physics, is just not there. It's not understood. It's not grasped. And it's that more superficial understanding that's dominated the world, really. And so even in India, a lot of people there, not all, but a good number, have kind of even rejected the Vedic knowledge because they don't understand it. So to really understand this stuff, you have to see beyond the Kali Yuga, superficial, really, mentality. And it's great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the computers, airplanes, everything, that's all just, classical physics, really. And it's fire technology, so it is a great thing. But there's so much more, and it's so much deeper, and it starts to function on such a more profound level of existence. But right now in Kali Yuga, you could say the whole continuum from the deepest level of the unified field to the surface of life, it's like a mechanism that's all gunked up, and so the gears aren't turning. But as we employ these Vedic technologies more and more, it starts to melt away the gunk. Even though it has its influence right from the get-go, it becomes even more and more powerful in something that transforms the world and makes all these other technologies that are there in the Vedic literature that lie dormant right now, really, but makes them emerge, makes them available. The whole Vedic field of knowledge blossoms, and that's really what brings peace on earth. That's what brings heaven on earth, It's a matter of level of consciousness of the people, really, and purity of the environment. So this Archana that they're going to perform, that's what it does. It's a very powerful, purifying technology. And as then the world becomes more and more purified, and this ceremony that they're doing is specifically for Mount Soma, to become more and more, ever increasingly, a beacon light of that knowledge and radiating that value. So having said that, the specific details of the nature of that technology and that particular ceremony, well, we can talk about snake. We have Ganesh, the remover of obstacles. And then we have, he rides what? A mouse. Now, what is that about? It sounds pretty weird. Well, what is a mouse? A mouse kind of dwells within the earth or hidden within the earth, sort of a thing. And the snake, which Ganesh wears as a belt, the snake is the same. And in that, they are so rooted and so integrated with the earth itself. At the same time, there's a profound, think of the snake, the serpent power, the kundalini, the Ida Pingala. So those values, though they are deeply embedded, if you will, in the earth, also have their more spiritual qualities. And so maybe you can imagine from that that a technology that had the knowledge of that, the power of that integration, the real serpent power, if you will, and how to employ that as a technology that then radiates that value and purifies then distortions and the impurities in the global consciousness. And so if we can look beyond, our modern, belief systems and start to develop the ability to discern between, hocus pocus and profound technologies that are employing a knowledge that just isn't available in the West, really, as Western knowledge. And so, listen to this. I mean, it's just incredible. What they do with this is they go into holes of snake homes, and they take out the mud and they make little lingas out of it, 10,000 of them. And so why? Because there's an energy there. What is that energy? It's an energy of the depth of the earth and the serpent power, if you will. And that's a quality that is the source of life. It's the source of existence. It's just like the source of the physiology, the Kundalini, Ida Pingala Sushumna, And so all that knowledge then and all of that value on a very profound level is harnessed through this 10,000 Linga Archana that hasn't been performed, both pujas and havans, for at least 1,000 years, probably thousands of years. They suspect it hasn't performed in this Kali Yuga. It's a long time. And there's so much like that that's available in India. And as the global consciousness purifies, what's going to happen is that more and more of these technologies are going to be understood. They're discovered, understood, and embraced. But that's going to take a whole new, for the mainstream West, that's going to take a whole new mindset, a whole new knowledge. The language of Western science, as powerful as it is, and the great things that they've done with it, the language itself at some point becomes limiting, because the language is not a language of nature. You could say it's a language of humanity. It's a good language. It's a great knowledge, but it doesn't traverse the transcendental depths. And even when we speak that language, for it to touch the depth of our being, it goes through transformations that we're not conscious of, but it goes through transformations in our subtle physiology to touch into that deeper level. And so it's really that, if you will, soul level that gives things power, that we feel deeply. But if the language is consistent with that, then it makes it that much stronger and that much more powerful. And it's a language that is very foreign to current Western mentality. But it's there, it's real, it's accessible. And as we employ it more and more, we clear out the gunk out of the machinery. We purify global consciousness. And as a result of that, the more we do it, the more powerful it becomes as a means of living in harmony with nature. Not our Western notions of what it means to live in harmony with nature, but what it really means to live in harmony with nature. And so that's what's going on. That's what they're going to be doing in India here sometime within the next month or so.
Do you have a date yet, or they have to still organize it?
Sometime. Well, they're going to be, gone in January and the first part of February, so it'll be sometime during that.
Right. Now, from us on an individual basis, how can we participate in this, or can
yeah, it's a good question. I think they intend to, and I'm sure they will. They send videos so that we can watch and participate that way. Also, if you want to support and be a sponsor of the puja, havan, the Archana, you can do that. And if you go to, michaelmamas.net, and you'll find the corresponding blog that relates to this podcast, and scroll to the bottom of that. And Mary, who runs our office, will provide a link there of how, if you want to, you could donate and sponsor to whatever degree you'd like this ceremony, which, you become more connected to it for sure.
So it wouldn't be the same as having our own personal one of these for ourselves, or would it help us on a personal level? Because I think this is a pretty powerful tool for like transformation. Like you're talking about, like, this affecting, like on a personal level, wouldn't it affect our ability to kind of like, give, interface with the spirit, spirituality, the unified field, all these things,
It's a huge, powerful influence that the more we're connected to that wave, the more we're carried by it. So I think, for example, everybody who's just living here at Mount Soma, they're going to get benefit from it hugely. People that sponsor it, they're going to get benefits of it hugely. And so it's a good question, and it's an important question. It's a question I care about a lot, like we all do. At the same time, how do I want to say this? Well, there's this, this notion of service, and I spend the majority of my time supporting Mount Soma. Why? Because I believe in this wave. I believe in this influence. I believe in the potential. And it's not just believe in, I have enough knowledge that I've been provided by pundits and my teacher and so much. It gets to the point where it's not about belief, it's about knowledge. And I have enough knowledge, even though the knowledge is vast, and you never know it all. But the little bit of knowledge I have is enough that I know that this stuff works. And I know that I want to support it to manifest. We're never going to have world peace by a bunch of people negotiating or people demonstrating or this paradigm or that paradigm adhered to until we find the right paradigm. That's not what it's about. It's about a purification of the planet, really. And of course, who's ever ruling at the time when as things get better, we're going to give them the credit. No, they did it. More about purification, and they're the byproduct. So for me, I want to support that. And so I don't think so much about the benefit I get from it, even though that's sure, great, important to me. But I don't think so much about the benefit I get from it so much as I think about there are people out there suffering. There are children suffering. The world is a mess. There are wars. We have the knowledge to reverse all of that. And that's what I'm dedicated to. That's what I'm committed to. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. And like I said, there are so many gemstones hidden in the dust of Kali Yuga, and we're fortunate to find the one that says how to build an enlightened city. When I first heard that, I was a kid at the time. When I first heard I was 31 or something. And when I first heard, I said, that's it. Let's do it, I didn't think about the benefit I would get from it so much as I thought about the benefit the world would get from it. And that's a long response to your very good question, Scotty.
Yeah. Well, it seems like from what you're saying is it's okay. We need to support this machine that will purify everything. It's not so much about these individuals or whatever.
And that will provide you with more benefit than trying to do what you can do to get benefit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I'm at with it. And that's just the truth of it, All right. Well, I guess that's it for this week. I'm excited about this. It's 3 days it will last. And I'm excited about it. And I'm sure we'll get videos and we'll post them. And we're just going to keep going. This will happen. They say when the karma is right, the doctor heals. And right now we're coming into a karmic wave that'll bring about Sat Yuga. And that's been predicted from so many different angles. And we're fortunate to exist at a time when that's going on. But the nature of the transition is critical. And how we enter that and what we structure now to support that will determine how fully it's realized and how long it lasts. And so we've got to get this done, you know. There's no need for suffering in the world. This world is here to if managed properly, to be heaven on earth. And we're going to do it. Okay, everyone, thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.